Cabin in the Woods is a 2012 horror comedy, directed by Drew Goddard, written by Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, and it's pretty damn awesome. There are plenty of channels for nitpicking movies, but that's not what we do here. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, go watch it. We're about to explain and celebrate what this movie does well. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to be spoiled. Where a lot of horror movies would start with a cold open where somebody gets murdered, Cabin in the Woods kicks off with Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins as seemingly boring, mundane office workers. And before you know it, bam! The title card announces what we're in for. It's exciting, it's funny, it's great. Trust me. Then we get White Knuckles by OK Go. It's a great song, which was once used by an even greater podcast. Moving on. In film, there's generally a rule called the 180-degree rule, which acts as a guide for the camera. In general, if two players are talking or interacting, the camera shouldn't pass a plane over 180 degrees. It acts as an axis for cohesion. If one character is here, and then all of a sudden they're here, things just feel off. This rule can be broken, though. Drew Goddard does it in style, using motion and swapping tone to disguise the shift and make it feel natural. The film is about subverting expectations in a satisfying way, and the direction follows suit. The first time we swap, the tone shifts from a lighthearted conversation about weekend plans to an invasion of privacy, sexual intimacy with an older teacher, and exposing secret information. We quickly switch back as the characters walk back to their original places and the easy-going weekend plans resume. Characters are established here. We've got a jock, a new guy, a smart girl, a sexy lady, and a dork. Each one of these archetypes will be subverted in just a little bit. Sometimes it can be tough for dialogue to sound real without coming across as stuttery or speaking over one another, and that is one of the huge strengths of the writing of this story. As they drive away, it's explained why phones aren't an option. Not only does this make sure the audience doesn't sit with their arms folded, wondering why they don't call the police, it's a pretty easy and clever explanation.
That's the whole point. Get off the grid, right? No cell phone reception, no traffic cam.
Little do they know just how on the grid they really are. As they drive away, an operative watches them from the roof. Nice and early, the theme of the movie is stated loud and clear.
Society needs to crumble. We're all just too chicken shit to let it.
I've missed your rant.
We meet the harbinger. His job is to scare the kids off, and when they laugh in his face, they've set themselves on a path to destruction. All the dialogue is so purposeful. There isn't a moment wasted. We're always learning about the characters, the setting, moving the story ahead or shifting in tone. All of it is fun, none of it feels like work, but it's all pushing us forward. When we meet the crew, they're driving to the cabin. Everything is bright and sun-washed, the camera is warm and fairly close to the characters. Plus, check out this awesome hero shot of the cabin. Once Dana walks into the house, things take a turn. The film becomes a little washed out. We get this low angle on the stairs. We get Dutch angles. Things feel claustrophobic now. We get wide angles, mimicking security cameras, spooky audio cues. And as Dana walks through and explores, she spins and we spin with her. The camera moves, and this dizzying shot, we get a full view of her surroundings and also become disoriented within them. As soon as we enter the house, it gets difficult to comprehend where we are exactly. Cliched character types are being subverted here. The ditzy blonde is actually pre-med. Thor may not be a bodybuilder yet, but he's clearly meant to be the jock, subverted when he's portrayed as a genius beefcake. We get this wide angle, this far-off shot of Dana looking small in the cavernous space of the empty room. She tries to safeguard her feelings and privacy from her friends who are actively trying to invade it. Then we pan out to reveal the government is watching and can see way more than her cabin mates. They're taking an active and unseen role in manipulating her. Theme! Each scene follows the theme and reiterates it. There aren't very many wasted scares or erroneous scenes in regards to the theme of the film. Everything fits in place. It's fun to see the inner workings and office life of the characters downstairs. Our heroes are being manipulated to make sure they keep performing for the downstairs team. The Harbinger calls into the office, and they make fun of him. It's both a great comedy bit, and it gives the Harbinger a second moment where he's ignored. This time, the downstairs crew laugh off his warnings. Their hubris is on display, and their fate is now sealed. Just like the kids, they deserve what's coming. Every declaration of despair is met with a joke. We make sure to keep the kids vulnerable. They're not the comic relief. We get to know them, and they feel like real characters. The comic relief comes with the B-plot in the downstairs. It keeps things fresh, lighthearted, and it lets the audience have a sense of relief when zooming to the government guys, then tension when going back to the kids. These characters are a little bit lazy, and are clearly there just to help the audience figure out the game we are playing. But it's better than some scrawling text on the screen with this stock sound effect, and a character clumsily talking out loud to themselves.
An ion grenade. Just bombarded your cellular structure with enough ions to destabilize your matrix.
This echoes one of the plot beats established in the book Save the Cat. Not only that, it happens at almost the exact moment when author Blake Snyder says it should, right ahead of Act 2. The circumstances are clarified with the downstairs folks. The theme continues. The government fixes the game, but as long as the kids give up their freedom and privacy for the good of the rest of us, we're all good. Society will let abuse go as long as it's on screen far away and not in my face. More cliches. The trope says the quote-unquote slutty girl needs to be sexy, so now she's flirting with a wolf head. Very stressful for some reason. I do not like this wolf's tongue, but his face is pretty creepy. It's all tone and emotion over substance, and it's a great moment. I remember when I saw this in theaters, I was expecting a jump scare of some type. This is dopey, but ultimately it's fun. Also check out Thor highlighted in the background with a spotlight. Very Mike Myers, not the love guru. Dana wants a dare, and the cellar door flies open. What a great Evil Dead moment. If you've never seen Evil Dead 1 or 2, wait for the video to end, like, comment, subscribe, thanks for the follow, ring the bell, whatever, go watch those movies. Earlier, the cellar is alluded to as an important plot beat by the government. It's where the bad guys want us to go. And as soon as it's open, we start building tension. The wolf was spooky, but that was upstairs. Now that we're in the basement, we get the feeling that the kids should not be touching anything down here. When I think back on this movie, I think of the cellar. I'd like to sit around and freeze frame every shot to explore all the artifacts the government has shoved down there. It's also nice to think of the off-season here, when there are a bunch of businessmen in suits handling these things, putting them back where they belong, and prepping for the next group of kids to roam the cellar's ancient library of evil. The camera angles when the kids are being watched or manipulated feel like we're voyeurs, peeping on them through some secret means. This is wonderfully executed, being able to discuss the theme not only in dialogue but also in cinematography, setting, and tone is a rarity. The game is established at almost exactly the 30-minute mark.
But cutting the flesh makes him have a husband's bulge, and I do not get like that.
Huh. A husband's bulge, huh? Wonder what that means. Let me look into that. Husband's bulge. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Turn it off. Back underground, we undercut the horror with some more comedy. I also want to freeze frame on their whiteboard of monsters. What totem belongs to which monster? We also learn that these creatures are more than something from a nightmare. I love that idea. These monsters are older than we know, and they fuel our fears. The office workers are too callous for their own good. These are matters of life and death, and the downstairs team is placing bets? It's easy to stomach the horror when it's not happening right in front of you, and you can watch on a little screen disconnected. They're corny businessmen. It's a farce. Our humanized female bad guy teaches us the lore, and more questions are answered before we get the chance to ask them. Our B-plot characters have their personal quests lined up for them as well. Just barely we can see Berlin, Kyoto, and Rangoon working through their own rituals. We get more shots filmed from below, more awkward angles. The cliches continue, always for a purpose. It's a teen party. They've got to get it on. All the while, their privacy is invaded. The intimacy is lost.
You understand what's at stake here.
I love the seriousness of this question and the double meaning. Within the movie, the old gods need a sacrifice. They must be appeased. Above that, we are the customer, and we're bloodthirsty. We need a show. Otherwise, the people of this world are screwed. The cleverness is almost overwhelming. We're the old gods, and we're never satisfied for long. The deaths have begun. The downstairs crew went from celebrating and placing bets to doing a forced prayer in solemnity. Is it that they have to say this prayer because it's the next part of the process? I think maybe they're required to follow the ritual, but now that the bodies are dropping, it's clear that while they have fun, they don't treat anyone's death lightly. I can't stand horror movies that make the deaths themselves gags. This is the right way to do it. We have our fun until we don't. The blood machine. The blood machine is so cool looking. Marty resists the whispering voice, but still ends up doing what it says. So strange. Are they in a bubble? I'm not sure, but they're completely trapped, and they can sense it.
I'm not leaving here without Jules.
She says as a zombie kicks the door open and throws Jules' severed head in her lap.
Kicks the door open and kicks the door open.
Gore and scares are mostly used to serve as character development and further the plot. Every death matters, and it's refreshing. It's so different from so many modern horror movies where deaths just exist and the characters don't matter after they die. Here's a stretch. What chemical did they invent that makes you want to split up from your friends? Also, it's cool that Thor specifically makes everyone go back to their rooms, which are constructed to lock them in. I guess the downstairs considers them to have sinned enough. We may as well just trap them now and turn them into sitting ducks. Our villains eat popcorn as the kids run. Hey, did Bradley Whitford just order the same dosage of Thorazine as Peter Venkman? Check that in the edit, Bob. I'm not sure that he actually does, but I thought I caught it. The pieces that were set up in Act 1 are now being used here in Act 2. We have a telescopic bong being used as a bat. The one-way mirror is actually a gateway to safety. The basement turns out to be the black room from the diary, which raises a few questions and is a little on the nose, but it's technically plausible. Marty's death seems so real. It's a great misdirect. When the room rumbles, it's not because the old gods are excited, but because they know the sacrifice wasn't completed correctly. Marty is still alive. Zombies are in the rooms now too, but Thor breaks them out. Quick, get to the basement for safety. This guy gets hit by a bear trap, but then the zombie is killed. Oh, wait, he's still alive. The bad guy finally dies, and Thor saves them. They run as the Japanese kids defeat their villain. Our kids get in the van. This provides us with a hopeful ending to a stressful conflict. Each scene is delicately balancing hope and despair in a provocative way to keep our interest. It's never a one-sided fight. Plus, using a bear trap on a chain as a weapon is pretty cool. The villains lose hope as we see the heroes rally. It becomes a race against the clock, like a disaster movie. We don't know who to root for anymore. And it's small, but watch how the downstairs crew zaps Dana to make her drop the knife. Such a cool touch. Kyoto loses in the best way possible. Yay! When the tunnel explodes, we're thrown into despair. It's fun to watch the downstairs crew have to stumble to fix Marty's tampering. I love the panic and the mad dash. At the time, I was wondering if maybe someone downstairs was rebelling. It raises a lot of questions. When Thor explodes against the invisible wall, it's a perfect all is lost moment from Save the Cat. I remember people in the theater laughing at this moment, but I always found it to be really messed up and disturbing. I almost wonder if people were just reacting to the shock. There's a really sad vibe to this moment that highlights the fragility of our characters, the impossibility of escape. No wonder Dana gets so depressed. Depressed Dana is heartbreaking and eerie. Every impossible thing they're experiencing is revealing the truth to her, and it's sad. There's an air of inevitability to their situation, a heaviness. Not only is this battle between hope and despair important for building tension, but each scare and kill alters the plot and explains more of this universe. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is pointless. Classically, at the end of Act 2, our heroes are at their lowest. Only 2 are left alive, and there's no way out or through. Desperation kicks in. Holden gets killed, and now we're down to 1 left alive. The final girl. And now she's alone to fight this scary, gross face underwater. Creepy. This transition from water to beer is a lot of fun and supernaturally transposed. Also, the office workers have a brief moment of respect for a second. It's great. Although,
Tequila is my lady! My lady! Come on!
I love this man. The Office provides more levity. As soon as we're at our deepest, most desperate point, we're thrown back to the tension relief. When we're pulled back outside with Dana, we're reminded of how intense we feel and want to go back to the safety of the office party. The Office guys might feel bad, maybe. They're cold and stoic in the face of their god, and then explode with bombastic office party antics. At the end of the day, these are not our heroes. They're doing their job, and their job involves human sacrifice. They're celebrating. Not that the old gods will be appeased again, but they're excited that they're number 1, better than every other country. When the phone rings, the A plot and the B plot are merged. It's time for the final act. From celebration to fear, the balance has shifted again. You can't have a moment of happiness without a moment of tension. The phone call signals doom. The party stops dead in its tracks, and we hold on the droning ring of a telephone signaling the end. And it's great that we're shown so much and told so little. Every once in a while we get these expository moments of dialogue, which are a little much, but it's always when someone in the know is explaining to somebody who's not familiar with the world. It's never a character monologuing their inner thoughts to us, the audience.
You told me your name. And I wrote it down.
Here it's revealed that Marty caused the glitch with the cave-in. And now the elevators reveal what could have been. The music box had a scary ballerina. And look at that super cool ghost design. It seems rabid and hungry. This Cenobite guy always felt oddly knowledgeable and melancholy. He's intrigued by Dana, contrasting her desperation and misery with his cold, emotionless stare. It's almost sad to me what's been done to him. I'm not talking about how pleasure and pain turned into the same thing for him. I personally think they should be 2 separate sensations. I mean, he was trapped in the elevator. These creatures are terrifying and deadly, but now they're being reduced to being summoned for our amusement, essentially. They're in a zoo. Note that the characters rarely stumble into problems or solutions. Purposeful decisions drive solutions. The entire movie goes from order to chaos. It's always been slowly trudging forward towards entropy. It gives us this feeling of losing control. As the government controls, now it's Dana and Marty's turn to exert their control over things and mess everything up. Hey, who built this system purge button? Well, that's insane. The bloody hallway is a great image, and the elevator ding is a crazy fun way to signal the arrival of more monsters. Also, now that this carnage is being displayed on the monitors, the staff suddenly don't like it. Hey, how did Patience Buckner manage to get in the elevator? She's such a sad character and such a perfect name. She's like a sweet little tortoise. The little engine that could rip your face off and eat you, and well done. Bradley Whitford finally gets his merman. Lovely music for what we'd all expect to be some sort of beautiful, majestic creature. But then we get a disgusting slime man.
Oh, come on.
This line very nearly turns a death into a joke, but you know what? They earned it. Not only is Bradley Whitford gone, but in a blink and you'll miss it moment, the producer gets grabbed by a tentacle beast through the ceiling. Then we get rid of the rest of the downstairs crew in the catacombs. There's one man left to save the world, and our main character kills him. It's sad, it's real, and it's dramatic. I kind of hate to see these characters go. Underneath the high-tech control room, get it? Control room? There are ancient stone tunnels. It's perfect. At 80 minutes in, we've had very few accidents. Once again, everyone moves with purpose. We learn that modern horror tropes are designed by ancient wall carvings and ritual sacrifice. The movie is calling itself out on the cliches. In universe, it's explaining why we have so many horror movies which follow these tropes, and still, it's what the characters are experiencing. Sigourney Weaver has to step up into the scene. Where did she come from? Was she hiding behind a tablet and sneaky peeking at them? Why was she lower? That's where the old god is. Is she a god? The answer is yes. Dana has a choice to make here. The entire movie, we've gotten to know these characters to see how they act. Dana and Marty's moral compasses are conflicted. Will Dana kill Marty to save the world? It's the railroad dilemma, and most would kill a single person if it meant sparing 5. Now the monsters act as saviors. Our expectations are subverted in more satisfying ways. We're all doomed, but we lived good lives. We died good people. 2 people at the end of the world reflect on their lives together, the hardships they've faced. They forgive one another and share a smoke. It's wonderful that patience saves the day.
I'm so sorry I almost shot you. I probably wouldn't have.
What a great line. Marty is barely alive, covered in blood and sitting in an ancient tunnel. He's speaking past tense about something happening in the future. This is a perfect inverse of the opening, where Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins are clean-cut in a modern office talking about a future they expect to be a part of. And here we are. We end with a giant god hand destroying the cabin as we smash cut to the credits and 9 Inch Nails. This movie is bookended with 2 of my favorite artists. Perfect. 9 Inch Nails could just be a choice of a studio head somewhere picking a popular song. But 9 Inch Nails is classically anti-establishment and anti-self. The entire movie dooms mankind and says we can never move beyond our base nature. We are the architects of our own destruction. For all our morality, we're all ego. We destroy everything without purpose. This isn't meant to last. This is for right now. You know, nothing is beyond criticism. There are of course moments that are clumsy or confusing in Cabin in the Woods. It's weird that every time I watch this movie, I find myself disappointed that the monsters they summon are just zombies. There were so many interesting options on that board. It's weird to be disappointed at all, though. It's like I forget that Cabin in the Woods gives us everything at the end. I don't know why that happens. I think I just maybe get invested in the story each time. Or maybe the Buckners just aren't very memorable. Maybe they're intentionally playing off the idea that all of this is somehow mundane. And how many people have died today? Not one of them qualified as the fool? Why is this literally about killing Marty specifically? He never really acts like a fool. If we're subverting characters, wouldn't the gag be that he's actually intelligent? He is the one to figure everything out. I feel like it could have been a good joke if Bradley Whitford qualified as the fool, but then we wouldn't get this badass finale. So I'll accept it. There's just too much awesome stuff happening here. At the same rate, this video is about celebrating film and what movies do well, and Cabin in the Woods is a tightly constructed, purposeful, and fun ride from beginning to end. It's an homage to the horror movies that came before, while pushing the format in new directions. There's no such thing as perfect, but does anything really have to be? It's all about innovation and creativity. And this is what Cabin in the Woods got right.